Good morning, and thank you, Tech UK, for inviting me to speak this morning. Over the past few years, the civil service has risen to the challenges of the EU exit, COVID-19, and the war in Europe. In the past few weeks, we've had a new administration, a new cabinet. We've had the lying in state of Her late Majesty the Queen and a state funeral. And we've been preparing for what will be a very challenging winter. Time and time again, we deliver in crisis in the civil service. But what I want to spend some time talking about this morning is not how we deliver in crisis, but how we improve the business of government. What do I mean by the business of government? I mean the delivery of 7,500 services to millions of users a day, the policy that shapes UK PLC and our lives, the 500,000 people who work for the civil service, and how we make sure that every pound of taxpayer money is money well spent. That's the business of government. And that, to me, is what building a smarter state is all about, transforming that. I'm Megan Lee, the Chief Strategy and Transformation Officer in the Central Digital and Data Office, leaders of the digital function in government. And it's our job to answer that question. How do we make the business of government better through digital and data? In June this year, we in the Central Digital Data Office published our strategy alongside colleagues in departments who co-created it with us, transforming for a digital future. And that sets out to achieve 3 outcomes: exceeding public expectations, by which we mean delivering better policy and delivering better services, equipping civil servants for a digital future, not just with the right skills and capabilities, but also with the right technology, the right tools, and really critically, the right data to do their jobs effectively. And thirdly, enhancing government efficiency and security, through which we mean using common building blocks to deliver services cheaply, quickly, and securely. These 3 outcomes are underpinned by 6 missions, all of which are really critical to delivering that transformation of the business of government that I spoke about at the start. Services, one login, better data, modern, sustainable technology, digital skills, and really importantly, a system that enables digital transformation. That last one is particularly important, and I want to spend some time on it this morning. Rather than getting into those commitments in detail, because many of you in this room were part of their development, I want to talk about what a bigger shift that this strategy represents for us in government. And that's from moving from pockets of progress to enduring transformation. What do I mean when I say pockets of progress? And I speak about this in terms of services, in terms of technology, and in terms of capability. We can all point to excellent examples of government services. The furlough scheme, set up in the early stages of COVID by HMT and HMRC, it supported 11.7 million people during the pandemic, the most ambitious economic intervention in the UK's history, underpinned by technology that was stood up in 4 weeks. The Home Office EU settlement scheme, it's an app journey that takes 7 minutes and has enabled 6 million people to obtain UK immigration status. And one we all know very well, the COVID NHS app, which allowed 1 in 3 of us to be alerted when we needed to self-isolate and to effectively stay safe during the pandemic. But if we look at our services through a wider aperture, across the many thousands that we deliver to users every day, we estimate that only about 10% of those services are great, 10%. About 40% are on their journey towards transformation, or they've been partly transformed. And as Cole very neatly put in his speech, if they're partly transformed, they're not really transformed. About 50% are only just starting out in that journey, and they have a long way to go and significant opportunities to improve. Many of you will know that working in government means that people love to share with you their recent experiences of interacting with government. And I was recently speaking to a lady in the post office queue of all places. It's not a very British thing to do, but I'm actually Australian as well as British, and ended up in a conversation with her. And she shared that when her daughter needed financial support when she had a baby, it was really difficult for her to access. It would have been easier if she could have done it on her phone, which is the main device that she uses. but indeed she had to go to the library where she could use a printer to print out the form. It would have been easier if she'd have been able to get through to the helpline, but she struggled to do so. And so instead she guessed some of the answers and she worried that she'd gotten them wrong. It would have been easier if she was able to go to the post office sooner, but she had a newborn baby. And what that meant is that the 16 weeks wait to get that service would have kicked in sooner, but it didn't. 16 weeks. In contrast, I was recently speaking to a colleague, Paul, who told me about a brilliant interaction his son had had with government. He'd applied for a provisional license on a Wednesday, and it arrived 2 days later. No human interaction involved at all. 16 weeks and 2 days. That's what I mean by pockets of progress. Sometimes government experiences are great, but sometimes they're only great if you have specific proof of identity, if you have the right technology to access them, if the guidance applies to your specific circumstances, if they were developed recently by a digital team, and if the policy underpinning them was simple and deliverable. We've made progress, but we've not achieved transformation. In the strategy that we released in June, we made a commitment to transforming 50 of our top 75 services, transforming to a great standard by 2025. We define great as consistently usable and consistently efficient. Why 50, you might ask? Why not all? Is that really ambitious? Well, let me explain to you what that's going to take. It will take fundamental change to the way we hire and retain digital professionals to fill our talent gap and to access top talent. It will take upskilling of our business leaders, our finance colleagues, our commercial colleagues on leading and enabling great digital teams. It will take changes to the way data is shared and used across government, and we're addressing this by making critical data assets available and raising the standards on data quality and governance. It will take a shift to product-centric ways of working to better enable digital teams to continuously deliver value. And if all that sounds pretty standard, it will take major institutional change. The system of government isn't designed for agile teams. So we're working with Treasury to modernize our funding processes. We're working with finance to shift the way that we think about agile and risk. We're working with IPA to ensure that our project delivery methodologies and approaches are fit for a digital age. We're linking in with our policy colleagues and making sure that they understand the implications of their policy decisions, that they're skilled in digital and data essentials, and that they understand how to use data to make decisions about their policy. They use user-centered design to design good policy, and they use cross-functional teams, and they're part of cross-functional teams to deliver that policy. And we're working with the commercial function to ensure that we can make it as easy as possible for government to work with suppliers on the right solutions. Let's next talk about technology. Again, we have brilliant colleagues across government working on really innovative solutions. Indeed, many of you will have contributed to those. But again, we have pockets of progress. The National Digital Twin Programme, run in partnership by BASE and the University of Cambridge, is a great example, using world-leading digital modelling capabilities to predict things like when rail bridges need maintenance and when flooding might have impacts on our broader infrastructure, such as on our water, energy, and telecom networks. The Met Office is working with the Alan Turing Institute and leading universities to explore applications of data sciences within weather, climate, and AI, using the supercomputing capability that remains one of the most powerful in the world, dedicated to climate and weather. Again, these are pockets of great progress, but we also know that 50% of our spend on government IT is keeping the lights on. And we know that often because we have worked in silos and we've developed and progressed in silos, we build and buy similar technologies that address the same business challenges. We have over 144 login solutions. We have department-specific desktop solutions, grant solutions, form builders. I could go on. And only through working together across government can we address these sorts of instances of duplication and ensure we're innovating as quickly as we can and getting the most value for money. That's what I mean by improving the business of government. So what are we doing about technology? We're doing a lot. We're adopting a buy once, use many times approach to technology, working really closely with our colleagues in commercial. We're making use of common code, pattern, and architecture across government, and we're adopting one login. We've been working with chief technology officers across government to estimate the potential of using single solutions with a view to adopting them in the next 3 years. We're working to align all nationally important systems to a cross-government cloud and technology strategy. And we're looking at remediating our highest risk legacy systems through using a consistent legacy framework across government to estimate and assess the size of that risk. We're also adopting common approaches to things like emerging technology and to sustainability. Turing once said, "Machines take me by surprise." In government, we need to make sure we harness and pioneer those surprises to ensure better outcomes for everyone. Next, I want to talk about people. In the last 7 years, we've built a community of 23,500 digital professionals in government. Engineers, software developers, analysts, and digital delivery professionals. But we have a long way to go. We have thousands of vacancies, and we estimate that we have only about half the digital density we need. By digital density, I mean the proportion of digital colleagues compared to the total civil servant population. We are at about 4% on average across departments. In average, that's 8%. And we have been very focused on our digital colleagues and strengthening that digital community. We're now stepping back and thinking about other communities, our senior leaders, and we've made a commitment to upskill 90% of them in digital and data by 2025. And the broader functions and colleagues outside of the digital function, commercial, finance, policy, making sure that they understand digital and data, and building and cross-functional teams into the way that they work. My colleague Thomas will be sharing a little bit more on our capability plans with you later today. So in the sphere of capability, as in services and as in technology, we've made progress, but we haven't yet achieved transformation. And the 2025 strategy that we announced in June seeks to achieve just that, transformation, not just progress. And now, as we turn to our supplier community and think about the ways that you and our supplier community can help with our strategy, our aspiration is to speak to supplier community with one voice of government so that we can get the best return on taxpayer money, accelerate our shift to modern cloud-based computing, be able to leverage new and emerging technologies better, and to bring the best of your supplier capability to the bear on public services, while ensuring the right level of knowledge transfer and sharing into government. I want to conclude with a personal reflection on why I think this time around is going to feel a little bit different, and it does feel a little bit different. The first is we've managed to capture the imagination of colleagues across government and the public through demonstrating through those crises that I spoke about at the beginning what's possible. The second is that we've shown that working together across government can be a force multiplier, both in terms of working with colleagues through our Chief Technology Officer community, our Chief Data Officer community, our Chief Digital Officer community, but also meeting our colleagues outside of the digital function in the middle and helping them to understand and better use digital and data. We've agreed to a set of concrete, measurable commitments that all departments have signed up to deliver collectively, some of which I've mentioned here today. And those commitments not only address the live challenges that we face in government, but also some of the institutional blockers that have gotten in the way of us progressing in the past. And we have the sponsorship of business leaders, our permanent secretaries, and indeed our ministers, to achieving this transformation at scale. And in that environment that we work in, where the next crisis is only just around the corner, it's more important than ever to harness these tailwinds and sustain them so that we can move away from having pockets of great progress and we move towards achieving enduring transformation. Thank you.